women had made online and had determined from those searches which masculine archetypes women were attracted to. The most outwardly puzzling of these are the pirate, the vampire, and the beast. Now, if you see the world literally, you're going to be stumped by this, but maybe a metaphorical reading will help out here. The pirate seems like an easy one to understand. As an inner figure, this is the rebel, the rule-breaking masculine many women carry inside, but which they project onto the pirates or rule breakers out in the world. Now, the vampire is more troubling. The wonderful Jungian analyst Marion Woodman points out that many women suffering from eating disorders dream of vampires. These inner vampires are sucking the life out of these women, just like their eating disorders are doing to their bodies. Eating disorders are linked to the perfectionism that is part and parcel of masculine energy, and that, in its exaggerated form, drains the life out of you. Now, I wonder what our culture is telling us with so many young women enamored of these vampire romances. So let's take a look at what the feminine actually is, keeping in mind that the feminine exists in both men and women in varying degrees, so we do need to get away from thinking of this as gender and more of it as an energy. But it is also true that in general, women are able to access their feminine energy more easily than men. Which brings me to that other inner masculine figure women seem to be attracted to, the beast. Remembering that all stories are about one's psyche, this figure and the stories it appears in can tell you a lot about what the feminine needs to realize within to become whole. The most ancient telling of the beauty's love for the beast is the tale of Cupid and Psyche. The most well-known rendition of this story is the one by Apuleius in the 2nd century AD. If you want to explore the story in depth, there are no better guides than Eric Neumann and Robert A. Johnson. Now we're going to take a quick tour of this tale to see what it is about. In many ways, this story reads like a fairy tale, and we certainly should approach it that way. Now the story begins with a king and a queen and 3 daughters. The youngest, Psyche, or Soul, is so beautiful that she has attracted the attention of the goddess Aphrodite, the most beautiful goddess in the pantheon of the gods, but one who is aging, just like the archetype is aging at the time it was written. Now, this is a figure we also see in fairy tales, in the figure of the stepmother who is always after the younger daughter or stepdaughter. So here's Aphrodite, who is resentful of this mortal usurping of her role as object of worship by men. Now, Marie-Louise Wonfran said that you should count up the characters in a tale at the beginning and find what is imbalanced. Here we have 4 women and 1 man, so we know what is missing is the masculine element. Now, Psyche's sisters are married off, but Psyche herself is so beautiful she can find no partner who is not scared of such beauty. And that's what beauty does, terrifies us at times. Psyche's parents decide to consult the oracle of Apollo about their daughter, and he tells them that Psyche is destined to marry a monster that neither God nor mortal can resist. Psyche's parents are instructed to leave her on a mountain to await her monstrous husband. In the meantime, Aphrodite has sent her son, Cupid, or Amor as he's known in some of the stories, to punish Psyche for her beauty, but instead he pricks his finger on one of his arrows and falls immediately in love with her and instructs the west wind to take her from the mountaintop and deliver her to him. Now here's where the story really gets going. Psyche is transported to this beautiful place where she lives in luxury and beauty, and where she's married to someone who comes to visit her only in the thick of night. This tells us a bit about amour or love and the blindness that accompanies the act of falling in love, because Psyche falls in love with her nightly visitor and projects all of her longing onto him. Her husband is a blank slate, ripe for that projection, but anyone who has lived a little knows it can't continue this way. Enter Psyche's 2 sisters, feminine aspects of Psyche herself. Let's not forget, and it is they who start placing the doubts in Psyche's head. What is it you're sleeping with? Isn't it a monster? And what if you don't know because you can't see him? They ask her. These 2 sisters are actually not villains. They are the force that pushes Psyche to confront her inner masculine. Without their envy, which points us to what we want, helps us to discriminate between things, Psyche's stunted masculine side would remain a beast, unformed, unseen. Instead, Psyche takes a candle and a knife, which is in itself a symbol of the masculine because it cuts through things, with her, and one night, while Cupid is sleeping, she lights it and sees that he's no monster, but a beautiful young man. Distracted by the sight, Psyche shakes, and a drop of oil from her lamp falls on Cupid's shoulder, and it burns him. He's enraged by this transgression. Love of this nature can never survive the kind of examination that comes from being in the light of consciousness. It must transform. But for things to transform, Psyche must transform herself. That is what the rest of the story is about. Psyche then seeks Aphrodite's forgiveness for having burned her son, Cupid, but Aphrodite responds by giving Psyche a number of tasks she must fulfill to earn her forgiveness. The tasks are the standard fare we find in the fairy tale. She's asked, for example, to sort enormous quantities of wheat, barley, and oats in one night. This is a function of the masculine ability to discriminate between things. The feminine is great at connecting, great at relationship, but finds it hard to discriminate. It merges and melds with things to such a great degree that separation is hard. Psyche despairs, and a group of ants show up to do the work for her. These ants represent her instincts, which know how to organize and get the job done. Aphrodite then gives her a number of other tasks. The most onerous is of going into the underworld, or the world of the unconscious, to visit Persephone, the wife of Pluto, and bring back a little bit of Persephone's beauty in a box. Psyche hears the voice of Cupid, which is after all her masculine side, who instructs her on how to take this journey. So she descends into the underworld and manages while there to avoid helping anyone. Remember, that's something the feminine loves to do. It loves to nurture and help and save. But she's been told by Cupid to focus on her task. Focus is one of the things built in the masculine side. So again, she's developing those abilities that belong to that side of herself, which is stunted or beast-like. Once she gets the box for Aphrodite, well, you know what happens. It's a box. The feminine can't resist opening a box. That is what the story of Pandora has to say. This speaks of the capacity of the feminine to be curious, which is why cats are often considered feminine in an archetypal sense. Curiosity is necessary to get the story going, to enlarge our consciousness. Without it, nothing moves. When Psyche opens the box, she is plunged into a deep sleep, and Cupid, now her fully developed masculine side, pleads with his father Zeus to save her and make her a goddess, and Zeus does so. So we travel in this tale from the underdeveloped masculine, which appears as a beast, to the fully developed masculine that can unite with the feminine to make one whole. This story's theme is explored in Wuthering Heights, the novel Emily Bronte published in 1847, where the relationship between Cathy and the beast-like or unrefined masculine figure of Heathcliff heads in tragedy for both and can find union only in death. More recently, of course, we have seen many variations of the story in the form of Beauty and the Beast on screen. This tale was originally published in France in 1740, but as you can see, it has a much longer history. Read metaphorically, these stories tell us a lot about our interior journey, our need to bring our inner world together into balance. As Jungian analyst Barbara Hanna wrote, it takes, as a rule, a very long time, many years usually, before the two sides of the personality, represented by conscious and unconscious, can be brought into the Tao. Our myths and fairy tales provide a map to guide us through this journey.